This is my baby. This is my 1969 Shelby GT-500. It has the 428 Cobra Jet engine, which is the big engine for the Shelbys. The Shelby came in as it was the top of the line Mustang you could buy because they took original Mustangs and sent them to California. And Carol Shelby's group changed the engine tune, put headers on them, different carburetor intake, stuff of this nature, better suspension on them to make them race car. I like this car. I grew up in the 60s and graduated from high school in the early 70s, and I saw these when they were brand new, and I always thought this was just one of the coolest body styles, and the fact that there were very few of them built back then, I really wanted one. So back in 78, 79, I found one and bought it. I started driving it to car shows back in the 70s, different places, and found out that when you showed up in a Shelby, you had an instant crowd around your vehicle. You had normally the only one there. Other guys that show up with Mach 1s or Camaros or Firebirds or Roadrunners, whatever, and there'd normally be several of those, but this was always the only Shelby that would show up, normally of most any of the 4 years they were built. In 68 and 69, Carol Shelby released building them himself out in California. It went back to being built by Ford. So some of them don't call these, a true Shelby, but they are a Shelby. The bodies are a little better because they had a lot more money behind them to help fund the development of the fiberglass front ends and all of that stuff. This 69 Shelby was pretty top of the line, or very top of the line back in 69. It wouldn't hold a candle to the new Shelbys that are out there because the new ones, the engines run so much smoother, easier, way more horsepower out of less cubic inch. Drivetrain-wise, everything was the same. The bodies were the biggest difference. Everybody was trying to go bigger cube, faster, more power. Styling was into it also. The Shelby, they changed the whole front end style. Now they have the hood, which has 5 openings, 4 vents to help cool the engine and 1 for the ram air for the engine. The front fenders each have a vent in the front to help cool the front brakes. On the back of the car, right here is a functional duct to help cool the rear brakes on the car. The bigger spoiler in the back helped create more downforce for the back of the car when you're up at 100-mile-an-hour plus racing speeds. They put better tie rod ends, better suspension parts on the front to help handle the extra power that these cars produced back in the 60s. I bought it in 79 from the second owner, and it looks the same way it did as I bought it in 79. The only change I've done to the car is it had bias ply tires on it when I bought it, the old polyglass GTs that were wore out, so I put radials on that would drive better, and I put new brake pads on the front, but otherwise the paint, the interior, everything is original as it came from Ford, because I haven't repainted, I haven't done anything other than clean up and a little detail work under the hood to keep it looking nice for a 40-year-old car. These old cars were made to be driven. That's the neat part about it. Going places, getting the thumbs up from people as you're driving down the road. You pull up to a stop sign or stoplight and someone will pull up beside you and give you a big thumbs up because you're actually out driving your car around. I have friends that have them that load them in a trailer and haul them everywhere, rarely drive them. I've driven this for the 29 years that I've owned it. It's never been back on a trailer. The guy I bought it from delivered it to me on a trailer, but it's never been back. If I'm gonna go to a car show, I start it and drive it. I've always liked Mustangs ever since I was small, little kid, seeing the 65s when they first came out, and then through school, seeing the guys whose parents would buy them nice Mustangs to drive. I just like the body style on these cars, as far as the fastbacks especially. None of the other ones, the Camaros don't have a fastback, Firebirds don't, Dodge didn't basically have a fastback. I've always liked the fastback, the flatback looking cars. I've owned a few Torinos over the years, but always kind of went back to the Mustang. I've liked them, I've owned lots of them and owned them, fixed them, sold them, and a few of them I've hung on to. People ask me a lot about whether I think Ford is better than the other brands. Being a professional, working on cars all the time, I don't think any one is any better particularly than the other one. A lot has to do with maintenance and how people take care of their vehicle and treat them. The biggest question I get asked all the time is, well, what did you pay for it? You had to have bought it really cheap. And I don't tell anybody what I paid for it. That's between me and God, and let it go at that. These old cars are pretty nice. They got a neat look under the hood with all the aluminum, and come up here and unlock our hood. Factory hood locks to keep it from flying up at high speeds. This prop rod under the hood's not a factory deal, but the early car, or all the Shelbys that had fiberglass hoods in '69, the springs would put pressure on the hood, and over time it would cause the hood to bow, so you'd be able to almost stick your finger between the hood and the fender on them after a lot of time, years of sitting in the sun or whatever. So rather than have it bend my hood, we put a prop rod on it. This is the '69 428 Cobra Jet engine. This is original engine, the original block that came in the car. On this particular car, they had in the late '60s, early '70s, they had a Le Mans upgrade that you could buy from Ford for your 428 Cobra Jet. That involved you've got a pair of 427 medium riser heads, a 427 Sidewinder intake, which moved the carburetor over a little bit to help center it over the engine better, to make the intake runners all the correct equal length. You got a 780 Holley carburetor, vacuum secondaries, a Le Mans Ligera cam to go with it, and you also got a set of tube headers to go on it, which was a 125 horse upgrade over the roughly 435 horse that come with factory-wise. I ended up going back with the stock cast iron headers because the tube headers kept leaking. So everything is right on the big block part of it and the right exhaust manifolds, but it does not number match any longer because of the upgraded heads, intake, and carb, which really makes it quite fun to drive. When you step on the loud pedal, you better be hanging on and pointing in the right direction. This car still has the Smog equipment on it that all Shelbys were built in California back in the '60s. So they all came with Smog equipment on them. This is your Smog, your canister. Here's your Smog pump down here. The pump started making noise, so I took the pulley off and just run the air conditioner minus the Smog pump, but this belt pulley tensioner would tension it for both. The air tubes into the manifolds are there, and everything is still here. Of course, back in the '60s when these were new, that was one of the first things guys would take off and throw away. They didn't want anything pulling any extra horsepower away, so they'd take all the Smog stuff off, and normally they'd take the exhaust system off and go to glass packs or something of this nature, where this one still has the cross-flow muffler in back and the resonators and stuff, the original style exhaust system under it. So this car, the original 780 Holley, got to giving me some issues, and so I ended up taking it off and put a 770 Holley Street Avenger carburetor on it, which is almost identical in appearance. It just runs a lot better than the 40-year-old worn-out carburetor was doing. So the car actually runs better with this new Holley on it than it did with the old Holley. So that's a minor detail. I still have the original carburetor that came with it. It's just a matter of getting it to work again. Look you can see on the cover it says 428 has the snake, and it says Cobra Jet to denote that it's a 428 Cobra Jet. These are original covers. They started reproducing these a few years ago as repop valve covers. But these original covers, if you can find them, used ones will bring about $1,500 a pair. A lot of the Shelbys did come with factory air conditioning in them, and this one has the factory air still on it. Needs to be charged in the springtime because it leaks a little bit over time, but that made it a lot nicer to be able to go to car shows or cruises or even back in the 60s to get in it and go anywhere, not have to roll the windows down and sweat while you're driving. Here's the interior of my car. This is an unrestored car, so the door panels are original. I've got a little crack that developed in the last 30 years on that. Otherwise, the panel's all original. Under my Ford floor mat cover, I've got the original carpeting with the original red insert for the carpet. Original door sill plate. This is original Shelby automotive sticker they put on the door sill plate. It's unrestored. All the new ones all have nice shiny ones on here. This still has the original parts. Everything is the way it came. My steering wheel with the rim blow horn is original. There's no cracks in it, which is pretty amazing for those old steering wheels. Horn is in the outer edge of the steering wheel, so if you get in a panic and you squeeze your steering wheel, your horn honks. You don't have to reach in the center because there's nothing there to honk. It's right out here in the outside. They call it a rim blow. The rest of the interior is save for the dash pad. I did end up having to go to Ford and buy a new dash pad because after 40 years it cracked over the speaker vent. Went ahead and called Ford, found one in their warehouse that was original dash pad, put it in, so it's all back with Ford pieces parts. Carol was all about safety for the drivers, so they came out factory with a roll bar in the car, and they also have dual shoulder harnesses. They have an inertia cable or inertia belt up here, which is a dual shoulder harness that they come out with to make the driver stay safe. You get in, pull your shoulder harnesses up over you, and if something happens, it stops you on both sides instead of only one side. And that was only in the Shelbys. This car came with the factory AM/FM 8-track, which was the big thing back in the 60s. Now it's CD players and iPods, but this was as good as it got back in the 60s. The GT-500 being big blocks all had C6 automatics. The normal automatic wouldn't take the 428 power. They had to have cast iron tail housings on it because the aluminum housings would break if you got real aggressive with your driving. So they had cast iron tail housings. You get the Shelby emblems on your seatbelt buttons. You get your Shelby emblems on the door panels. You get the Shelby emblem in the center of the steering wheel. They dress it up a lot. On the back B pillar of the car has a snake mounted on the outside, and on the front fenders it says in script 428 Cobra Jet. So they were very liberal with letting you know that if you had a 428 Cobra Jet, you had Cobra power. So don't mess with me. This particular transmission with the Le Mans upgrade has a 10-inch TCI converter in it to give it a little more idle quality. I can put it in gear and it doesn't lug the engine as hard as a stock converter would, so it lets it idle better when you're sitting in traffic. You're not lugging the motor quite so hard, which also makes it really launch good. These cars were great little performance cars, but they weren't just two-seaters only. These had the ability to carry 4 people. I'll move my stuff out of the way back here. And then you fold the back package tray up. and you've got seating for 2 more people. Which made it so you have a 4-passenger car, not just a little 2-seater. These cars didn't have much for a trunk. You can get your cooler in there if you worked hard at it. This has original style trunk mat in it. The other one got stains on it, so I ended up replacing it. But in order to have room to get anything in, you open the back door here and you can get into the package area in back. These old cars didn't have very good radios, so back in the day, guys would take and cut holes in here to put speakers in. Well, nowadays, if you want to have a trunk that doesn't have holes in it, you may spend $500 to $800 to buy a back door for your car. The fender extensions back here, the trunk lid, they're all fiberglass. They're probably twice as tall as the Mach 1s had, which gives you more downforce because these cars normally went faster than the Mach 1s. The center here is a honeycomb design with the Shelby lettering across the back. The tail lights are from a Thunderbird, which is different. The regular Mustang just had your 3 lights over here, 3 bars to make your lights. And these sequentially, when you turn your blinkers on, it starts blink, blink, blink as they come across to let you know that you're turning. The bumper itself is the same as a regular Mustang, but on the Shelbys, 69 only, they come out in the center, which comes back from each tailpipe back into the center on this magnesium outlet, and the exhaust comes out here. Back in the 60s, late 60s and 70s, they had an issue with that because the gas filter cap is right here, and if there was any venting or seeping the exhaust fumes, and you let off the gas and had a backfire come out the back, it tended to make a big fireball out of the back of your car, which was not a good thing. So they had to do some revisions to put a different type of cap and filler neck on so they didn't leak. Now they've got a sealed cap that you put on to help keep from burning the back of your car up. My first vehicle that I ever bought was a 52 Ford F1 pickup with a flathead V8 in it. Bought it and a 52 Ford car with a flathead V8 in it for $400 for the pair. The truck had a bad motor, the car had a good motor, so I pulled them out, switched them over, got it up and running, and I did it. Used a tractor with a loader bucket, pull the engine out of each one and put it back in, and did it outside into the clear blue sky. So the pony car size, I like that better because you got a little less weight, you still got room for 4 people. Still have the same big engine that you could have in a big car, but you're not dragging that extra 800 or 1,000 pounds of iron around. It's always been my kind of deal, the big horsepower, light cars. I like the new ones too. I'd like to have a real new one, a new Shelby, just to have the 500 horses and air conditioning, be able to get in and go anywhere in the country and not have to worry about stuff. But the old ones, you drive that, you show up somewhere, you turn heads immediately. As my group gets older, these cars are the thing. So my son, he likes some of the little import tuners and stuff like that. So when he gets to be in his 40s, that may be the thing that they want to collect or have because that's what they grew up with. I think it's picking up steam a little bit because the guys like me that grew up with these cars are getting to the point where their kids are out of the house, they've got money to spend on the cars. If they can find one, they're willing to spend $50,000 to $100,000 to buy one or restore one or whatever. I think all the different automakers have great cars. It's just a matter of, are you a blue blood Ford, or are you a bow tie Chevy guy, or are you a Mopar guy? I was watching a TV show Pastime the other night, and they had a dragster that was an electric powered dragster. It had 300 lithium batteries in it and a 250 horse motor. This thing did a burnout just like a big V8 engine would. Guys on the show go, this is really eerie because it's just dead quiet, then all of a sudden gone, so that'd be pretty neat to have. Plus the fact you don't have to worry about buying any high-priced gas. I like car shows just for see the different cars that different people bring. A lot of times you see the same stuff over and over, but you also see the same people over and over, and you meet friends, make friends, and get to stand around and BS with each other about what's been going on. When Jordan, my son, was a baby, I'd put the car seat in the car with him and stroller in the trunk, and we'd go to car shows. Now he's 15, so he's wanting to get where his license is legal to drive. He wants to drive one of the cars, so we'll take two. It's a great father-son deal, and I see guys at car shows that are in their 70s that are there with their sons and grandsons and stuff. And it's just a real good bonding time for fathers and sons, and I hope my son will be able to figure out something down the line that he'd like to restore, and I'll be able to help him with it, let him continue this love of the muscle cars. The little kids now that are 10 more years or 20 more years, if we don't keep this going, they'll never see what was a big part of their parents or their dads and granddad's lifestyle, what was out there. So kind of just have to keep going.